true crime story you never heard about that would make you shock, but at the end, great lesson to lean. On the morning of December 26, 1996, in Boulder, Colorado, police received a 911 call that would change the lives of one family forever. 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey, a child beauty queen, was reported missing from her home. Her mother, Patsy Ramsey, said she found a long ransom note demanding $118,000 for JonBenét's safe return. At first, it seemed like a kidnapping. The note claimed the child had been taken by a group of foreign faction kidnappers. But what followed inside that big house was confusion, mistakes, and a tragedy that still haunts America today. While police searched the Ramsey home, something shocking happened. About 7 hours after the 911 call, JonBenét's father, John Ramsey, made a terrible discovery in the basement. There behind a closed door was JonBenét's body. She was covered with a blanket and her mouth had duct tape on it. There were signs that she had been strangled and possibly struck on the head. This was no longer just a kidnapping. It was now a murder case, and one that would capture headlines across the country. From the very beginning, suspicion fell on JonBenét's family. Why? First, the ransom note seemed strange. It was unusually long, nearly 3 pages. Experts said it sounded like it had been written inside the house, not by a professional kidnapper. And the amount demanded, $118,000, was almost the exact amount of John Ramsey's work bonus that year. Second, the way the case was handled raised serious questions. Police allowed friends and family to move freely inside the house before the crime scene was secured. This led to contamination of evidence. Crucial mistakes were made in those first hours. As the investigation went on, many people believed either Patsy, John, or even JonBenét's older brother Burke might have been involved. But the family always denied any wrongdoing and insisted they were innocent. The murder of JonBenet quickly became one of the most talked about cases in America. She was young, beautiful, and already known in beauty pageant circles. The images of her in sparkly costumes and crowns made the story even more sensational. Television networks, newspapers, and tabloids covered the case constantly. Millions of Americans felt invested in finding out what had happened. But with so much attention, theories began to spread like wildfire. Some believed an intruder broke in and killed JonBenet. Others thought it had to be someone inside the home. But despite endless speculation, no one was ever convicted. There are 2 main theories about JonBenet's death. 1. The family theory. Investigators suspected someone in the Ramsey household may have harmed JonBenet, either by accident or on purpose, and then staged the crime scene to look like a kidnapping. The odd ransom note and the fact her body was still in the house fueled this belief. 2. The intruder theory. Other investigators, as well as private detectives hired by the Ramseys, believed an intruder broke in that night. There was a broken window in the basement, and some evidence suggested someone could have entered that way. DNA found on JonBenet's clothing didn't match any family member, which supported this theory. Even today, people argue fiercely about which theory makes more sense. Years, the Ramsey family lived under suspicion. Patsy Ramsey, JonBenet's mother, especially faced harsh judgment from the public and the media. She passed away from cancer in 2006, still insisting on her innocence. In 2008, prosecutors officially cleared the Ramsey family after DNA evidence pointed away from them. But that didn't end the speculation. To many people, the case still feels unresolved. As of today, no one has ever been charged with JonBenét Ramsey's murder. It remains one of the most famous unsolved cases in U.S. history. Part of what makes JonBenet's story so haunting is her age. She was just a little girl, full of life, with a bright future ahead of her. Seeing her glamorous pageant photos alongside the dark details of her death created a contrast that the public could never forget. The mistakes made in the early investigation also left many wondering, could the case have been solved if police had handled the crime scene better that very first day? The ransom note, long, strange, and mysterious, remains one of the most puzzling pieces of evidence in any modern crime case. The murder of JonBenét Ramsey reminds us that not all crimes get solved, no matter how famous or high-profile they are. Behind the headlines was a real child, a real family, and a real tragedy. Nearly 3 decades later, people are still asking the same question: who killed JonBenét Ramsey? Until that question is answered, her case will remain locked in America's true crime history, another cold case inside the crime vault. We talk about true crime story every day, so subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see more.